Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good afternoon, my Kardec Radio Spiritist friends and all other friends who care to join us at 4 o'clock on Thursday afternoons to listen to a message from the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, given to us through the mediumship of Francisco Candido Xavier from the Spirit Emmanuel, who has written so many wonderful pieces of work. This one is chapter 111, entitled World Leaders. As we normally do, we will read the message and then offer some comments concerning the message, say a prayer, and then we will add a few comments at the end and our goodbyes. So let us get started. Today, let me bring up the message. There we go, number 111. I like that, 111. That must be a very special message. The New Testament quote upon which Emmanuel has written his response is from Jesus, and John recorded it. Chapter 3, verse 10. Jesus answered him, "You are a teacher in Israel, yet you do not understand this?" Emmanuel gives us the following. World authorities often appear in religious circles, especially in spiritist camps, demanding evidence for the existence of the soul. A time will come when such demands will be considered childish because, after all, these mentors of politics, education, and science are in fact asking if they themselves exist. Although it is referring to reincarnation, Jesus' answer to Nicodemus applies perfectly to this issue because today's leaders continue to ask about the essential realities of life. And if we will recall, there is a chapter in the book Good News, which unfortunately hasn't been published yet, but is available chapter for chapter if through the Spiritist magazine. And in that particular chapter, Jesus is explaining to Nicodemus that he must be born again of the water. And of course, Nicodemus is just struggling with this, asking the question, does that mean I have to be somehow put back into my mother's womb? Not understanding what Christ was talking about, which is the subject of reincarnation. And that's why this is so appropriate, because basically, I think it points out the fact that we are immortal spirits and we must continue to reincarnate lifetime after lifetime. So we'll go on with the rest of Emmanuel's message. Let us ask God to help human beings stop trying to enter the house of progress through the roof. Let us ask God to help human beings to stop trying to enter the house of progress through the roof. And we'll get back to this. The next paragraph is, until they acknowledge the reality of the spirit, unthinking doctors will continue to be confronted with pain-filled experiences in the area of medicine. Professors who concern themselves only with theories will continue to succumb to illusions. Improvident administrators will continue to expose themselves to serious errors until they face their responsibilities. For this reason, Jesus' answer is completely appropriate for the questions of modern leaders. Making themselves out to be investigators, They cynically ask us for proof of the existence of the Spirit. Nevertheless, they guide others and get involved in the lives of our brothers and sisters in humanity. In light of this, and in addressing a problem that is so essential for them, they should not have to ask about such things because they should already understand them. And that is the end of the message. Hello, Bruce Ness. Nice to see you again. Okay, so let's go back and we'll start off with the soul of the Spirit, asking, as it says in the first part, the world authorities often appear in religious circles, especially in spiritist camps, demanding evidence for the existence of the soul. And there is a wonderful book called What is Spiritism? You may be able to see it. Let's see. I got to move that out of the way. Oops. Get out of the way. Now let's go that way. What is Spiritism? And on page 196, it's this portion. It's paragraph 108 called the soul. And the first part of this is, where is the seat of the soul? And I will read this. The soul is not, as is generally believed, located in any one part of the body. Along with the perispirit, it forms a fluidic, penetrable whole, assimilating the entire body, with which it comprises a complex being, and from which death is no more than a sort of split. Okay, that's a lot of stuff in that particular statement. So we know that the soul is part of the perispirit, and the perispirit and the physical body blend together. And that's what he's talking about here. That it's along with the perispirit, it forms a fluidic, penetrable whole, assimilating, which is the joining together of the entire body, with which it comprises a complex being, and from which death is no more than a sort of a split. One may visualize two like bodies interpenetrating each other, joined during life and separated after death. In death, one is destroyed while the other remains, and that's the perispirit, which has the soul within it, or the spirit, however you want to really call it. So let's get back to the readings here, and we'll go further on. And he says that there'll be a time when the mentors of politics, education, and science, it's kind of considered childish to consider, whether or not the spirit exists. Because without the spirit, of course, which is the immortal part of our body, that perispiritual envelope, of course, you could not take on the physical body when you are incarnated. And this is what slips by, thinking again strictly from a materialistic standpoint, and not allowing God as part of our equation. And he goes on saying how appropriate Jesus' answer was to Nicodemus, because today's leaders continue to ask about the essential realities of life. Excuse me. Let us ask God to help human beings, I love this, to stop entering the house of progress through the roof. And, it's sort of an allusion to the fact that, of course, the spirit, we always think of the spirit as a heavenly type body. So instead of coming in through the front door, which is the physical body, and understanding that the physical body is linked to the spiritual body, as Spiritism talks about. It's got so many different analogies for it. They want to come in through the roof and give me some proof about the spirit. Let's go back to whether or not they really understand God and God's presence within our lives. Let's look at knowing that God is in charge, and that let's go on to the next thing, which is until they acknowledge the reality of the spirit, unthinking doctors will continue to be confronted with pain-filled experiences in the area of medicine. And not knowing that there's a spirit as part of this particular organism that incarnates this earth. Let's see, Bruce, you wrote here, so one of the first integral scientific treatises approaching dialogue between science and theology, Quantum Physics by David Bohm. Yes, agreed. As you probably already know, I don't know what the percentage is of the quantum physicists, but there's enough of them that understand, the more they get into quantum mechanics and so forth, the more they understand that there is a God, because it just leads those highly intelligent people to understand. The more they seem to understand is the more they don't know. But that's right on. I think I'm trying to remember. I think she did an interview, but I'm not. I can't give you the lowdown. There was no, I don't know. I have to continue on here. So God is when doctors understand that God is in charge, and He either allows the doctors to help heal someone. This is how you develop the relationship with God, and you must become friends with God through doing the good. Because the doctors need this. They need this information. Let me get to here. Okay, that's. They have to see their patients just like each one of them. They are children of God. We're all children of God, and that spiritual body houses the elements that will, especially when it comes to these chronic diseases, that they must correct. And in order to correct those particular chronic illnesses, the knowing that these people are immortal spirits, and having some idea that past life issues have so much to do with the chronic conditions that people carry into this lifetime. And of course, many of them can actually, create those chronic conditions depending upon how they live their life. If they're not trying to do the good, if they're harboring revenge, hatred, animosity, you name it, those all will add to the spiritual body, and it may rebound within the existing lifetime. But there's no doubt it's going to rebound within the next lifetime, that when you're given that opportunity. So seeing God in your patients is so important, because we just shut off that source of inspiration that allows them to navigate life and to help other people and to help themselves. And then he talks about professors who concern themselves only with theories and will continue to succumb to illusions. And this, I think, are, of course, Bruce, you brought up that scientist, David Bohm. These are people that have these theories, but they never trust in God. So they don't try to prove their particular theories. Because if you trust in God, he's going to guide you through an experiment, and he's either going to prove it or you're going to disprove it, one way or the other. And then he also talks about administrators that continue to expose themselves to serious errors until they face their responsibilities. And again, these are people that administrators that they must treat their members of the community or maybe their students must treat them like they want to be treated, because going back again to each one of us is a child of God. And when you learn to treat people that way, then you are a much happier individual, because now you've got all those good spirits on your side. And it's amazing the way that issues will be solved for you, any challenges that come up. And then the last paragraph, he says, again, he's justifying the question. Jesus' answer is completely appropriate for the questions of modern leaders. Excuse me. Making themselves out to be investigators that cynically ask for us for proof of the existence of the Spirit. Nevertheless, they guide others and get involved in the lives of our brothers and sisters in humanity. In light of this, and in addressing a problem that is so essential for them, they should not have to ask about such things, because they should already understand them. And this, I feel, is all related to not seeing God in everything that's available to us, not seeing God in nature. They don't see God in the mineral kingdom. They don't see God in the plant kingdom. They don't see God in the animal kingdom. And God forbid, in this materialistic human side of life. Each day we have the opportunity to see God in the nature. We go outside, we see the beautiful plants, we see trees that regenerate themselves, we see plants that regenerate themselves. God gives us these signs all the time. People that we meet that are, some of them are just beautiful individuals, and others are unhappy individuals. But when you meet those, if you have the opportunity to talk to a person that's unhappy, normally you can find out why that person is unhappy, because there's either something wrong with that person from a medical standpoint, maybe a mental standpoint, maybe there's somebody in the family that's been ill, maybe they're looking for a job. There's always something that's the reason why that person is that particular way. So the key here is to see God within our lives, to trust in God, and you don't have to ask for that proof of the Spirit, because you see God in everything. And as Bruce points out, the quantum physics is this wonderful proof. But what you find is people will not take the time to study, because there's so much proof. Another person is Gary Schwartz, University of Arizona, and his studies. He's not a spiritist, but he might soon be a spiritist, but he never has. He's been around with us ever since Kardec Radio was put on. He's been to many spiritist meetings, And he's usually around when we celebrate the birthday of Kardec Radio on around July 4th. And he's done some phenomenal research with spirits to the point where his double-blind studies are there's no way that I've been able to or even read that anybody could possibly disprove what he has done, because he has these sealed rooms that he uses. He used to use people that would program the computer, but now he uses the computer to program itself, to give directions to spirit to show up at a certain time and do a certain thing in the opposite room, or the adjacent room that's sealed off. And of course, the room the computer is in is also sealed off. So, and the spirits show up. So, I mean, it's just so very explicit. If you really want to look at things, people will find this if they want to look. But people don't, because they don't want to bring God into their lives, basically, is what it is. We are approaching the time that we're going to have to bring God back into our lives. And Spiritism is here to help people, not to convert anybody to following Spiritism. That's not the case. We're trying to give them the window into understanding that there is an immortal spirit associated with your physical body. And that spirit is always around. So many spirits are always around. Okay, so let's close our eyes and take a deep breath in and release. Dear Mother, Father God, Lord Jesus, Mother Mary, and the spirits from Kardec Radio, and the spirits that surround us, we are never alone. Thank you for your guidance and protection during this little study session of the way, the truth, and the life. We are so grateful to be able to have this opportunity to deliver this message, and then to use this portion of the talk to say a prayer, as so many of us in society need God's help. We ask that God's healing energy and love be spread throughout society, here within our families, within our little city, and let it spread to our state and to the whole of the United States of America. And let us envelop the rest of the globe in that healing energy and healing light and love. Let us bring God back into our lives, to trust in God, to know that He's there. We can see it every day, every moment of our day. Let us pray for all those in hospitals that are suffering from various chronic illnesses, that have had traumas, and also the COVID-19 patients. And let us include the doctors and nurses and therapists and all the people that maintain the hospitals, that serve the meals, that clean the place up. Those are so important, and they're on the front lines of this COVID-19 issue. They deserve and need our prayers every day. Let us also include migrants, people in mental institutions, those in prisons, people that await to cross our border to enter. Our doors need to be open, and we need to open up the vast, vast availability and welcoming of this United States of America. We have the capability to allow people in, to take care of those people, to make them a very working member of our society, a contributing member of our society. We've done it before, and we can do it again. It's just a matter of treating people the way we desire to be treated. Let your love continue to flow. It never stops. It's always there. And Thanking you again for your guidance and protection, we ask to close today's meeting, and so be it. Okay, thanks everybody for being here, especially Mr. Bruce. I thank you for your message there. I appreciate it. And we just remind everybody, of course, Bruce knows because I've seen him in many of the messages, the morning prayers and the evening prayers, that Kardec Radio is here to continually nourish your soul. And let us take advantage of that nourishment. Signing off, brothers and sisters.